Hello everyone! This video is adding fractions part 2b, which is once again adding fractions without common denominators. Just a quick review on the last video I made. As you could see here, our initial fractions did not have common denominators, but we were able to adjust one of the fractions so that we could have common denominators. What you're going to see on today's video is that sometimes we may need to adjust more than one fraction. So in this case, we're going to have to adjust both fractions in order to solve and simplify. All right, so number one, we have 1/5 plus 1/3. Okay, so right off the bat, we can see here that 1/5 and 1/3 are not the same number. But unlike last time, we cannot just multiply 3 by a number to get us to 5, which would be the larger number, or 5 by a number to get us to 3. Alrighty, so in this case, we're going to have to do a little bit more work here. So I'm going to show you the long way. Some of you probably can look at this and say exactly what to do right off the bat, but I'm going to show you the long way so that we could get a really good concept of what's going on. So we need to get a number to be our common denominator that both 5 and 3 go into. So what's going to happen here is showing you the long way to do this. If I do 5 times 1, that's going to give me 5. 5 times 2 gives me 10. 5 times 3 gives me 15. And I can go on and on from there. Alrighty, so then I can do the same thing for the 3's. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. So I keep going. 3 times 5 is 15. Alrighty, and as I'm sure you can see what I see, right here we have what we are looking for. 5 times 3 is 15, and 3 times 5 is 15. Alright, so guess what number is going to be our common denominator? Our common denominator is going to be 15. Alright, so what does that mean? That means we are going to multiply both numbers in order for us to get to 15. Okay, what do I have to do to get myself to a common denominator of 15? By showing the math this way, I can see I multiply 5 by 3, and since I multiply the denominator, I also multiply the numerator by the same exact number. Okay, same thing over here. If I want to get myself to 15, I multiply 3 by 5, and then like I said, what I do to the denominator, I also do to the numerator. Okay, now we're doing good. Okay, so once I do that, I keep on going, and as I can see here, 1 times 3 is 3, 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 times 5, which is 5, and then 3 times 5, which is 15. Alrighty, now we're in good shape. We have common denominator, and just like I said every single time, you add the numbers that are in the numerator and only the numbers that are in the numerator. Okay, 3 plus 5 is 8, so we'll have 8/15 as our final answer. Okay, so then I ask myself the next question. Can I simplify 8/15ths? And then I say no, because there is not one number that 8 and 15 is divisible by. Alrighty, so next problem. Okay, number 2. Number 2, we are going to have, let me find my paper here. Number 2, we've got 1/10. 1/10 plus 2/3. Okay, 1/10 plus 2/3. Alrighty. Before I go any further, let's look above here. Okay, in this case, we did not necessarily have to do all this math. I chose to do it the long way, but I know that 5 times 3 is 15 and 3 times 5 is 15. If you want to, you don't have to do all this. You could just look and say, okay, if I want a number that both 5 and 3 go into, if I multiply 5 times 3 and 3 times 5, guess what? I'm going to get the same number, and I'm going to have my common denominator. All right? So instead of doing all this work here, I'm going to jump straight into what I just described to you. So I can tell here that 1/10 plus 2/3, I do not have common denominators, and I can see that I have to adjust more than one of these fractions. So what I'm going to do is, just like you saw up here, okay, I know that both 10 and 3 go into 30. All right. Now I can ask myself, well, what do I do to get myself to 30? So 10 times 3 gives me 30. What I do to the denominator, I also do to the numerator. And then 3 times 10 is what gets me to 30. Alrighty, just like I did before, simplify this as I keep going. Okay, so 1 times 3 is 3. Alright, 10 times 3 is 30. 2 times 10 is 20. And 3 times 10 is 30. Alright, once we're here, we have our common denominators. I add across the numbers in the numerator. Then 3 plus 20 gives me 23. And I simply rewrite the common denominator. So I look at this. I can see that there's no way to reduce it or simplify it down. Okay, so that problem is finished. All right, so like I said, you can either do this work style up here, or you can use mental math like I did at this point. All right, so let's do number 3. Okay, number 3. All right, so number 3 is 1/4 plus 1/10. Okay, so this one is a little bit different. As you can see right now, if you decided to multiply 4 by 10 and then 10 by 4, you could see that these both go into 40. However, there's something else that they both go into as well. So I'm going to go and do like I did above, and I'm going to do that extra work that you saw above. And so I'm going to do 4 times 1 gives me 4. 4 times 2 gives me 8. 4 times 3 gives me 12. 4 times 4 gives me 16. 4 times 5 gives me 20. Okay, so I do the same process for the tens. 10 times 1 gives me 10. 10 times 2 gives me 20. All right, so as you can see here, we have found the number 20. The number 20 here is what we can make our common denominator. Like I said, you could choose to turn these denominators into 40, because based on this, you can see that it can be 40, or you could choose to do it this way, which will help you work with smaller numbers. So I'm going to do it this way. I can see here that I can have a common denominator of 20 here and here. So now I ask myself, what math do I have to do? I'm going to have to do 4 times 5 to get me 20. And what I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. 10 times 2 gives me 20. And like I did above, you got to keep it balanced. All right, so I carry on. 1 times 5 is 5. 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 1 times 2 is 2. And 10 times 2 is 20. Alrighty, so then, like I say every time, add the numerators and add them across. So I have here 7/20 as my final answer. One other thing I like about doing it this way is, as you can tell here, I did not have to reduce any of my fractions. So, like I said, you could do it the way above or you could do it this way. Either way, it does not matter. All right, have fun working on your math assignments, and I'll see you in the next video.